Their deadline has now come and gone. The last chance for Wisconsin Democratic senators to come out of hiding and make an appearance in Madison before drastic action is taken. Now, over the weekend, Governor Scott Walker threatened that if the vacationing senators did not return to the state by today to vote on his proposed budget, then he would start laying off hundreds of public sector workers. In a last-ditch effort to reach an agreement, GOP Senate Leader Scott Fitzgerald says he secretly met with some of the missing Democrats yesterday to discuss ways in which they would return to work, but little progress was made. So just a few short hours ago, Governor Walker delivered his budget address to a joint session of the Wisconsin legislature. Noticeably absent, all 14 Senate Democrats.
Democracy does not just expect differences, it demands them. It's the manner in which we discuss and resolve those differences that leads to both bold solutions and innovative reforms. Let us not lose sight of the fact that we were each elected to represent the people of this state by participating in our democratic process. I applaud the State Assembly and those in the State Senate who are in this chamber today for not losing sight of that.
And joining me now with reaction from Austin, Texas, former advisor to President George W. Bush, Fox News contributor, author of the bestseller Courage and Consequence, the one and only Karl Rove, the architect. Karl, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
You know, why do I suspect, and there's just a little side of me that thinks, all right, if the Senate leader is going to meet with these guys in hiding, why do I suspect that maybe behind the scenes, do you think it's possible some of those Republicans in Wisconsin in the Senate may be going wobbly a little bit?
Oh, I think it's the other way. I think it's some of the Senate Democrats may be going wobbly. If the Republican leader, who's a very strong figure, has arranged for a meeting with some of those Democrats, I take that as a good sign that there might be some Democrats saying, you know, look, we were elected to do a job and we're in hiding. How undemocratic is it for you to get elected to an office and then once you're in that office to basically flee your responsibilities in order to stop people from voting? I mean, this is a very undemocratic action by a bunch of Democrats. So I took it as a good sign.
All right, let me get your reaction to this. In the course of all of this debate, we're talking about the governor of Wisconsin. We're talking about a relatively small state where people pay pretty high taxes. The taxpayers are paying this bill. But federal employees that work for Barack Obama, he's their boss, they don't have collective bargaining for wages. They don't have collective bargaining for benefits. The average federal worker pays twice as much for health insurance as what they're asking for in the state of Wisconsin. Yeah. So who is this president to lecture this governor?
Well, look, it's all politics. Look, in fact, let's go a step further. You remember he's attacking the Republican governor of Wisconsin because he wants to trim back some of the collective bargaining rights. Has President Obama gone to Colorado and attacked the Democratic governor of Colorado or the Democratic governor of Missouri? Those are two states that statutorily prohibit collective bargaining. So the state employees in those states don't have the rights that state workers in Wisconsin would have even after Governor Walker's reforms. And yet President Obama's mute on them. Why is it? Because they're battleground states with Democrat governors, and he doesn't want to go in and apply the same standard to Colorado and Missouri that he's applying to Wisconsin. This is pure politics. This is pandering. I don't think it was an accident that the head of AFSCME, Gerald McAtee, went out and told the Wall Street Journal, if Obama doesn't speak out about this, it may put his reelection in danger, alluding to the $400 million that the union spent on Obama's behalf in 2008. And it was the next day that the president made his first comment about it. The White House, you know, McAtee whistled and the president responded.
What do you make of the fact that Wisconsin is one of 41 states where public employees earn higher average pay and benefits than private workers in the same state? What are we to make of that as this debate goes on? Because it's the taxpayers, in other words, they get the lower salaries on average. It's the taxpayers that pay more, contribute more to pensions and health care. And it's the taxpayers that pay for all the public employees. What are we to make of 41 states?
41 states. Well, look at the nationwide average. Bureau of Labor Statistics says that the average state government employee makes around $48,000 a year, and the average private sector employee makes around $45,000 and some odd, about a differential of just over $2,500. More importantly, what it shows is that state employees they began to open up that wage differential in the 80s and the 90s, but since 2001, wages in the government sector have risen at the same rate as wages in the private sector. Where they've turned their focus now is benefits. Since 2001, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that benefits for state and local government workers have risen at a rate 40% higher than in the private sector. So increasingly recognizing that they were getting in difficulty, that they were getting the wage differential between the public and private sectors was getting too big, they turned to these hidden benefits, which are absolutely eating the lunch of states like Wisconsin and a bunch of other states.
What do you make of the president was meeting with the nation's governor, and the president actually said this. He said, it does no one any good when public employees are denigrated or vilified or their rights are infringed upon. This at a time where you have a state assemblywoman who said, you're blanking dead. That was from another assemblyman. You have all these signs, Mubarak plus Hitler equals dictator Scott Walker. Hitler outlawed unions too, and it goes on and on and on. The president says nothing about this.
Yeah, no, look, this is the president's standard MO. Construct a straw man. What has America seen of Scott Walker? They've seen a reasonable, thoughtful, leader who has treated the people who oppose him with dignity and respect. And what we've seen on the part of the unions is this sort of vile, nasty name-calling that who should the president be checking? Who should the president be saying, stop doing that? It ought to be the unions which are vilifying and, as you point out, using this intemperate language, not the governor of the state of Wisconsin, who has been reasonable and thoughtful throughout this.
What do you make of, there was a report in the American Spectator today that, in fact, Howard Dean, the Daily Kos, Chuck Schumer may be involved in raising money supporting these 14 senators that are not showing up for work. Against, by the way, they claim, Wisconsin law.
Yeah, I'd be interested in what the ethics requirements are. Generally, in most states, you cannot provide room and board for a member of the legislature without that being considered some kind of lobbying expense. Wisconsin has very tight ethics laws. It'd be interesting to see how they're arranging this, because this is, if they're under the table supporting them, this is providing compensation to a legislator, and it could be in violation of the law. Absolutely, it'd be in violation of the law in Texas if you did that.
All right, and thanks for being with us, the architect, Carl Rove. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And coming up, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich may be preparing to announce his candidacy for a 2012 White House run. Frank Luntz is here to show you how Iowa GOP caucus voters react to him. That and our great American panel coming up next. All right, so is he or isn't he running in 2012? That is the question people are asking tonight about former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. There has been much speculation that the former House Speaker would announce that he was forming an exploratory committee later this week, but his spokesman said this is not the case. In a statement released late tonight, it reads, over the past 48 hours, there has been much speculation in the press about former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich's intentions with respect to a presidential candidacy. Gingrich is not traveling to Georgia to announce that he will form an exploratory committee, as stated in the Des Moines Register. Our own Frank Luntz was in Iowa recently with a special focus group of GOP caucus voters to see what they thought of the former House Speaker. We're going to play those clips in just a moment, but joining me now is the author of a brand new book out today, Win, the Key Principles to Take Your Business from Ordinary to Extraordinary. Pollster, the one and only Dr. Frank Luntz is here. How are you?
I'm having a great day.
Congratulations on the book. One of the and by the way, thanks for your nice words in the book about me, but I didn't deserve them, but thank you. I love the fact that you talk about very specific phrases. For years, what a lot of people may not know about you, you have been advising politicians, business leaders, people in the public arena, how to communicate. And there's a right way and there's a wrong way.
And this is it. This is the last book. There will be no others.
This is it, huh?
That is it. And Win was all of the secrets put into a single book. The phrases to use not only for a politician or a business person, what to say to get a raise, what to say when to get a job, the kind of communication the public wants to hear. The beginning of the statement, I'll give you an example, 2 examples. I get it. That phrase, I get it, communicates I'm listening, I hear you, and I understand.
Well, we have the number of them. The simple truth is, if a politician or somebody in business, you lay it out. There it is. No excuses, uncompromising integrity, the simple truth. Let's go to work. You decide. You want people to close speech with, all right, now let's go to work.
It's the best conclusion. It enlightens people. It inspires them. It gets them to get up and do something about it. There are 100 specific recommendations, and I say to everyone who's watching right now, if you want to win the next debate with your friends, if you want to be able to communicate to your neighbors,
liberal neighbors,
then read this, because it actually makes a difference. The words that work are in Win.
All right, let's apply it to it's sort of speculative now whether Gingrich is going to form the exploratory committee. My guess is I think he's really leaning towards getting in, but we'll see over time. But you looked at with Iowa voters, you dial tested. Let's run one of the tapes.
If you were a member of the President's Deficit Commission, which just put out this plan, $4 trillion in deficit cuts over the next decade, would you have voted for it?
No. It's the wrong commission on the wrong topic. The number one topic is jobs, because if you're at 4% unemployment, you just cut the deficit in half. Second, I'm against any tax increase on capital gains and on dividends, because it makes us less competitive with China, Germany, and India.
All right, let me tell you why I think it was good. It was so definitive and simple.
And he's basically saying one of the powerful words, believe in better. Don't accept what the Deficit Commission said, that we can do better. We don't need the taxes. And in fact, if we didn't have the unemployment, we would not have the deficit that we've got right now. Where Gingrich is best is not just explaining the problem, it is articulating the solution.
And that's important for anybody. And this is the thing, what you're saying here is that anybody can be successful. Like, for example, I know some brilliant people that couldn't communicate their way out of a wet paper bag. They have great, very smart, brilliant people with brilliant ideas, but you put them in a room and you ask them to communicate to people. It's hard. Isn't that the number one fear people have, communicating with people, giving a speech?
The single greatest fear is getting a letter from the IRS. The second greatest fear is...
For liberals being on this show.
Is speaking before a large audience. And the third greatest fear is being caught naked in front of the public. So I'll let you decide which is the greatest fear. But here's the issue.
It's not a fear of mine, Frank. It's never going to happen.
I'll leave that where that is.
It's never going to happen.
You need the context. Three things you need. The opening sentence is the most important part of the communication, not the close. Everybody spends all their time figuring out what's the last paragraph. They want to know. People react to you based on your very first sentence. Second, you have to set the context all the way through. Why does it matter in the tone? And third is that powerful delivery at the end.
I thought there was a powerful moment. You dial tested this for us. Newt talking about the Democrats being the party of food stamps. This is interesting. Watch the dials.
The key question I was raising in suggesting that the country ought to choose between the Democratic Party of food stamps and the Republican Party of paychecks is to be honest about the consequence of bad policies. When you have a tax increase, Obamacare, cap and trade, giant spending, big bureaucracy, giant deficit policy, you kill jobs.
That phrase, there's one word in there, the consequence. That word captures the fear that people have about policies, both that are implemented and ones that don't. The word consequences captures your attention. And it makes you focus.
Frank, the book is great for anybody in politics, business, and if they want to communicate better with their customers, with their friends. Great advice.
What's it called?
Win.
Win.
Yes.
The key principles to take your business from ordinary to extraordinary.
All right, Frank Luntz, good luck with the book, and it's on Amazon.com, bookstores everywhere. And a quick programming note, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich will be right here in the studio Friday, and we will ask him about his 2012 plans. You don't want to miss it. First, time to check in with Greta Van Susteren for a sneak peek of what's up in 19 short minutes. Greta.
Is that what it is, 19? It is 19. Well, I got my list tonight because I was afraid I'd forget. We have such a jam-packed list of guests tonight. Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina, Governor Rick Scott of the great state of Florida. We've got 2 state senators from Wisconsin and the lieutenant governor from Wisconsin, and we've got so much more. You got to stick around, Sean, and watch this show tonight. We've got so much.
Greta, in 19 minutes. Let not your heart be troubled. By the way, this ball, I'm throwing it to Tiki Barber. We'll see if he can catch on our Great American panel next.